Visual Expert automatically generates technical documentation from your source code. Explore objects, references, and dependencies to better understand, maintain, and audit your application, and onboard new developers faster. You will be able to access the technical documentation automatically generated by Visual Expert in this section. Starting with a menu that allows access to certain categories of objects you want to view. For example, this procedure, where you can see the details starting with the prototype, as well as a description that can be generated if desired using artificial intelligence. First, you'll see a brief functional description of the procedure. Then below, the main functionality points covered by this procedure. Returning to the documentation page, we will see here the parameters of this procedure, its variables, their types, any declared cursors, and the list of SQL commands it contains. With the ability to view details, source code, and other information for each of its SQL commands. Next, we have a summary of the code inspection results for this procedure, highlighting the various rules that were not followed. You can see in the source code where each rule was violated. We then see the source code itself with two optional AI features. The first one is for optimizing this code, particularly useful for optimizing in SQL query if desired. The other feature allows, if desired, to generate comments to better understand what the code of this function entails. Here we see the initial source code without comments, and the source code including the comments that were generated and added by the AI, explaining what each line or block of code corresponds to. The developer can, if they wish, copy this commented code and paste it into their code editor. Next, we will see the list of elements called, used, or referenced by this object, in this case by this procedure. For each of these objects, we can again, if we wish, open a page to view detailed documentation on that object. And finally, we might see an impact analysis, which shows the elements that call this object. And here we have another procedure whose source code we can examine, where we can see that it indeed calls the procedure we just reviewed in the technical documentation.